Shit.
It's all right, man.
It happens.
You know what? It's one of those things where we were kind of talking with Greg Taylor the other day. And that episode just went live today.
I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, it's a good one. And because we were kind of talking about leadership and things like that. And one of his biggest piece of advice was, learn from your mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
So, you're going to make mistakes.
Absolutely.
And especially being in a leadership position, make mistakes.
Yeah.
Don't make the same one twice.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat.
Did I tell you guys I watched that yesterday?
Fantastic movie.
I enjoyed it. It's set up for a second one. I can't wait. It looks like they're going to do like a whole series.
It's
going to be like John Wick, but with powers.
John Wick was...
There's only one John Wick, dude.
I said it's like John Wick, but with powers. It's a lot of fighting, a lot of death, a lot of cool death scenes.
Anytime John Wick is on, I'm stopping.
Which one was your favorite? 1, 2, or 3 so far? They're set up for 5.
For real?
Yeah.
No way.
How many people can be left in the world? Because what's the death toll in those movies?
I don't know. I think he's set the record so far.
Yeah, he's got to be at least 1,000. He's killed about 1,000.
We don't have to worry about overpopulation.
Yeah. I don't want to meet John Wick.
They are in New York City.
I want him to be my buddy.
And there's assassins all over the world. Yeah.
I want to send him a friend request.
I'm going to buy him 2 dogs.
I'm going to send
Facebook friends.
Yeah. I'm going to send you a friend request.
I'm buying him 2 dogs.
Hell
Look what I got.
Just for you, friend.
And with that, welcome to the Washdown podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Green, co-host Chris Nelson, and today we are talking with Captain James Kelley. Salute. Who, 17 years on.
Yes.
Class ahead of us.
Yes.
Which we were talking about earlier.
Just found out.
Yeah. For some reason, and how do you think that I'm older than you?
Well, no, not necessarily older.
The way you walk. You walk like an old man.
Yeah, well.
I mean, really and truly, like you look at some guys on the job and they exude confidence. You see
arrogance. We've been over this. I've told you the difference between arrogance and confidence.
Well, there are some guys, and I won't name names, but some guys, when I finally found out how much time they have, I was like, wow, man, I thought you were like a 25-year vet. But some people just exude confidence, some too much so, some too much bravado. But, yeah, there's a lot of people. I think it's in the way.
That's the fire service as a whole.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where you're at, whether you're paid, volunteer.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Because
I've ran into guys that I know are young on the job, and, I mean, they just exude confidence. You're like, wow, this guy he's ahead of his class. Like, he has a knowledge base that is way above the time that he has on the job.
Yeah, sometimes, and that's not a bad thing, but it can get you in trouble too.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes
That's
you got to
true.
pull that back.
Yeah.
We all get that. Oh, I got this. You run in, and you're like, I messed up.
And I still, even if I know the answer, sometimes I'll pull back and say I don't know, just to see if I can learn something new or learn a different way of doing it.
Yeah, see, there's a different answer.
Yeah.
Sometimes the way the question is asked, too.
Sure.
Have you ever noticed that? You're like, there's like 5 different answers. Which one are you looking for?
Yeah.
Because I give you one. I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
But it's not what you're looking for in this particular
Absolutely.
conversation.
Absolutely.
So, speaking of all that, what got you into the fire service?
I remember, I was probably, 7, 8, somewhere in that ballpark. My grandfather's townhome had caught on fire. And I remember hearing all the sirens and whatnot. I remember jumping on my bike, trying to figure out where everything was, and got around the corner, and there's Grandpa with soot all over his face, and I see guys putting this fan in the window, and I'm thinking, man, this is a cool thing to do. I was very grateful that they helped him out. The neighbors were grateful that they didn't burn down their house, and I just thought, man, how cool it was. But my path was a little bit different. I ended up following what my parents wanted me to do. They wanted me to be a businessman of some sort. So I went off to college, went and did the whole corporate America thing, and I hated it. And I just remember driving home one day and I saw a billboard that a department was hiring, and
that was it.
That was it, man. I went home. I talked to my wife. I told her what I wanted to do. She said I was crazy, but if that's my dream, she would support me, and she did.
Well,
so
that's huge.
Yeah.
To have that support, especially, I'm assuming, you're working in corporate America, you're making decent money.
Yeah.
And like, hey, I'm going to take a huge pay cut and go run into burning buildings.
But Mama makes a lot of money.
So, well,
she's a breadwinner.
At the time, though, she wasn't, though. She was in retail. And I mean, we were making decent money, but I remember getting my first check in the academy.
Did you look at it on both sides and go,
where's
the rest
I
of
looked
it?
and I was like, I remember raising my hand. I was like, I think they made a mistake. And they're like, no, that's actually more. You'll once you get out into the field, you'll see a huge. I'm like, so I'm gonna get less. Like, yeah, you're on a different time scale right now, but just wait. And I was like, wow. And I remember my wife was like, did you miss a couple of days? I said, no, that's right. And everybody said, be patient. You'll make it up in the end. You'll get there. And
that's why you had to have a second job.
Oh, yeah. But, she supported me. So, when it came time for her to make her move into the field of nursing, I told her, you know what, you supported me. Go ahead and live out your dream, and I'll take care of everything else. So here we are.
Nice. He's got a nice house. Don't let him fool you.
No.
It's beautiful.
No.
His wife runs a tight ship. Tight ship, too.
Well, yes.
I went over. She's like, shoes. I was like, whoa. I'm in the driveway.
Yeah. She
scared me a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I was like, I'll just go barefoot.
She's the general.
Yeah. She's very nice. She is. I liked her a lot. She was funny. But I'm scared of her.
Yeah, me too.
So
not a bad thing. We were very nice.
Hey,
me too, man.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No.
So you have worked pretty much in the Corps, right?
Yeah.
And so busy spots, seen a lot of stuff, and then decided you want to step into a leadership role and get promoted.
Yeah. Once I applied and I got the job, I knew, looking at the structure of the way the organization was designed, I knew that. I remember my interview, I was talking to one of the higher ups that interviewed me, and he gave the whole thing of, where do you see yourself in, 5 years, 10 years, and at the end of your career. And I remember saying, at the end, I'd like to be in your seat. And he kind of gave me this perplexed look like, that's kind of ballsy, but I mean, I'm the person that I love a challenge. I want to make sure that I'm giving everything that I have and that I'm learning. I kind of get bored if I'm not learning, but, I came into this craft wanting to make it to the top. So, I don't make it a secret. I'd love to be a chief one day. That's the end game for me. We'll see how far that takes me, but that's the end game for me, is to have a white shirt.
Same here.
Yeah.
I can't get the blue shirt.
And I don't knock guys for not wanting to promote, but the only thing I say to those guys, and in any department that you're with, be the best that you can be wherever you choose to stay. If you choose to stay as a firefighter, you need to be the best firefighter you can be. Never stop learning. The moment, in my mind, this is what I always say, if the moment I feel like I know everything I need to know about the job, that's probably the time I need to retire.
So you never going to retire?
No.
Because you can never know
You can never. I mean, this
always,
and I was talking to, and I won't mention any names, but I was talking to a friend of mine the other day who he's got about 5 years on or whatever, and he is now the senior firefighter at his station.
Yeah.
And it's pretty busy.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know, it's like he's a competent guy. He knows the job.
Sure.
I mean, but he's like, well, I got this issue and this issue and this issue.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I mean, you're the senior firefighter. You need to step up and lead because, and you can tell me if I'm way off here or whatever, but the way that I see it is there needs to be leadership at all levels in any organization.
Absolutely.
So, hey, take those guys by the hand and help them advance to where they need to be, to where they're competent and,
Absolutely.
you don't have to worry about them.
Absolutely.
And then that pays dividends later on.
Sure. I mean, that's your role. You don't step in the role of a supervisor, but you take the knowledge that you have and you impart that on somebody else, and you learn on the way. I mean, like you said, 5 years on, there's still a whole lot that person needs to learn, but what you have, impart that knowledge onto somebody else, and help learn on the way. When you find out something new, you share it, pass it on. And I think that's kind of a hidden treasure in this industry. Is I think we try to. We don't willingly give information out. We want to see if the person is worthy of what we have to share. And it's like, well, if we're in the same district and we're on the same rig, then I probably need to know what you know. It needs to be. And when I was in Midtown, I think that was the beauty of our company, is that it took some time. We were probably the longest tenured company together in our district, but we didn't have to. We pull up on a house fire or anything. There was minimal talk. I mean, we knew exactly where each one was going to go, what we were going to do. We knew the next move. If we saw that the fire was here, we knew exactly what to do. There was little to no talking. It was just straight work. But that took time. That took us having conversations, coming back from, working fires, sitting down at the table like this and having a discussion like, hey, this is why I did this. Did you see that? I didn't see that. Okay, so the next time we get something, which you probably will, have that in the back of your mind. Like, I know nothing about construction. And so the senior firefighter at the time when I got down there, he said, every time we go into an EMS call, just look at the layout of the house. And I was like, that's stupid. Why would I do that? And he's like, it tells you everything you need to know. I didn't know what a dormer was or, knee walls and all that. But as we got into that, we started having those conversations. Now I'm like, oh, there's a lot more to this than I thought. I thought it was just like they would tell you at the academy. You put the wet stuff on the hot stuff, everything's good. That's the general premise, but there's way more to it than that.
Yeah.
That's the first grade math.
Yeah.
Now you're in college calculus.
Right. I was like, whoa.
There's a lot to that, and a lot of the public doesn't understand that.
Yeah.
That there's a lot that goes into what we do and why we do what we do, and why we do it the way we do it.
Yeah.
Whether it's an EMS call, car wreck,
Absolutely.
a house fire,
Absolutely.
even an automatic alarm.
Yeah.
There's a reason we do things the way we do it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And then being able to basically multitask.
Yeah.
Of taking, okay, so we're in this situation, like you
Yeah.
said, an EMS call, and we're doing our job here, but we're also looking.
Yeah.
Saying, okay, well, if we had a fire here,
Yeah.
and just noticing things,
Yep.
then going back and talking about it.
Yeah.
So as you're walking in that house to the patient, notice where you're going, where the stairs are.
Yeah.
Is the kitchen open or not? Which side of the house is it on? Because
Yeah.
you might have it. Because I'll look on the outside as we're walking up, as we pull up. Like, okay, should be kind of like this.
Yeah.
Then you walk in, you're like,
Whoa. Yeah.
this doesn't at all look like the layout of the outside.
Especially in Midtown, you're like,
Yeah, because you never know what you're going to walk into, especially down there.
yeah, this is not what I thought it was going to look like.
Like
yeah.
you could have 5 houses in a row, and they're all built the exact same on the outside.
Yeah.
You go on the inside, you're like, what'd you do?
Yeah. I mean, it's an older part of the city.
Now, is that house
Houses have
converted
been
to-
remodeled,
Yep.
converted, like you
Yep.
said. So,
And then
Yep.
what type of wood's in it? Because like one block, you had those big old houses,
Yeah.
and they had handcrafted massive pieces of wood, and they were beautiful.
Yeah.
And then you go to the next floor, and it's totally different. You're like, what happened to all the deck wood?
Yeah.
Oh, we took it out.
Yeah.
So that changes floor to floor too.
yeah.
And the floor above might be a different layout.
Oh, yeah.
Because how many of those were converted into like apartments?
Oh, dude.
Because those houses were massive.
That was, yeah.
And
You
now
got
it's
those 2.5, 3-story houses. You're like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then, some of them might have had a padlock on the outside. Mm-hmm. Something to think about. Like that's
Yeah.
something I never thought about in a different part of the city I worked.
Yeah, you never
I was
thought.
like, okay, so you start learning.
Yeah, you never thought to look for mailboxes. Is there more than one mailbox? Are there more than one gas meter?
Is there 2 front doors?
2 front doors. Like, what?
So which door is the main level? Which door is the upstairs?
Yeah. So I mean, and like I said, I think it started off where I kind of had to show myself worthy of the information, but eventually the information was forthcoming, and it was just I learned so much, and that was the reason that I was glad that I had the opportunity to get down there, because I mean, the only way you get proficient at anything is that if you do it. And I knew that where I was at prior to getting down there, we were doing the job, but it was at a slower pace. We didn't have the reps that certain districts and certain stations had. So it was very advantageous. I was blessed to get down there. I had a ball. Would I go back now? I don't know.
Well,
I'm a little bit heavier, a little older. Knees don't move like they used to, but I had a ball, man, and I learned a lot. So my job now is to take what I've learned and impart that to, sounds like the old man now, to the next generation. But
well, that's the thing with the position you're in now, not just as a captain, but in the spot you're in.
Yeah,
it's easier for you to get around to all those different stations that.
And if
district, and you're able to impart that knowledge, and not just knowledge, but wisdom.
Yeah, and you know, we're sitting here, we're the old guys now. You know, when we first came on, we were that bright-eyed, bushy-tailed kid. Now we're the old guy that bright-eyed, yeah,
cigarette hanging out of my mouth, like, get my coffee, kid.
Now that bright-eyed, bushy-tailed kid is coming to you like, hey, what do you want? What do I do? And it's like, okay.
I'm like, hey, just wait a second.
Yeah. And
let me think about this for.
And we got that when we came on the job. We got that. Hey, you know, it'll come to you.
Slow down.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. Slow
exactly.
Down. I don't know how many times I was told to slow down. Now I got some young kid. Hey man, can we go faster? No.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We're at the right speed.
Yeah. We're the old heads now.
Well, that's what's not kind of nice about in the role I'm in. I mean, yeah, I'm still a firefighter, but being a medic, I'll get detailed to stations.
Absolutely.
To work as a medic, which is fine. I'll take overtime as a medic, whether it's an ambulance or pumper.
Sure.
And at different stations.
Yeah.
And you got a lot of young guys in the area that we're in.
Absolutely.
And just having conversations. We got some older drivers that have been driving for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to know something that I don't. So you learn.
Sure.
I know something they don't. Sure. So they learn. And just these young kids just soaking it up.
Yep.
That's nice being able to, and even the young kids, you might learn something new.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, we're computer heavy now.
Yeah.
Hey, you do this with the computer in the rig?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Do it again.
Exactly. Wait. Slow down.
Can you write that down for me?
Do that one more time.
Do you have a YouTube video?
Yeah.
I'm going to get my pen and paper and I'm going to take notes.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a guy that, you know, he showed me something on my phone. I was like, I had no idea my phone could do that. He's like, oh, yeah, it's
scary what your
first generation. I was like, geez, Louise.
Yeah.
Can I make a phone call and text? I'm good.
I kind of want to revisit something that you said about the whole information being volunteered.
Sure.
Or given. Why do you think it is that we do that? That we want people to, or, you know, whenever they get on, we want them to ask, you know, show us that you're worthy of. Why do we do that?
I think this is the type of job or career path or craft, as I would call it. You have to be self-motivated, and I think if you don't seek the knowledge out, then it won't come to you. This generation is a textbook generation. I think that they're very smart, computer savvy, book savvy, but we all know there's a textbook way to do things, and there's the practical way that we do things on the job. The textbook way is not wrong, but we know that from being on the job, there is I won't say better.
It's an X factor that you have to take into account.
There's a more proficient way that we can do things. So I think the older guy wants to know that the younger guy has that self-motivation, that drive, that self-determination to be better. So, and two, I think it also is it's a kind of a way for the older guy to feel relevant again. You know, hey, if you come and find me and ask me about throwing a ladder or ask me how to advance a hand line, then they're like, okay, now I'm relevant still. I can take the knowledge that I have and I can give it to this young guy. But I think that is, I just think that the job is, you have to be self-motivated. And I tell everybody that I talk to, the younger guys that come in, I'm like, this is not a job you can just like. If you don't love this job, it'll be miserable. So in order for you to love it, you have to throw yourself into the job. And I think that's something that is harder for, even like when we took that millennial class, they talked about how millennials are, I'm trying to try to be politically correct here, but not that they're not motivated, but it's easy to lose interest in things. And I think that in dealing with that younger generation, we have to find a way to pique their interest. So I think it's important that they take the initiative. Tell me what you want to know. Tell me what you're looking for in this job, and let me help you find that way. But
see, I think it goes just a little bit further with making somebody ask. Is if you ask, you're more apt to learn and learn
sure,
better.
Absolutely.
If I come to you and say, hey, this is what we're doing today.
Yep.
You're going to get about 30 seconds,
Yep.
and they're going to be zoned out, spaced off,
Absolutely.
and not caring because it's not something they want to learn
Yeah.
just yet.
Well, and we have run into that ourselves.
yeah,
And we've had that exact situation of trying to, one guy on a company, because, again, won't name any names
Sure.
or any details, but, we're working together at a place, and two guys on the company come up and say, hey, we want to learn this. So we go out, and then we've got one member of the crew who, well, he's over here playing on his phone
yeah,
while we're trying to teach.
yeah,
And I don't know. For me, that's really frustrating.
sure,
Yeah,
It's
when
'cause,
you go out
hey-
and train, it needs to be as a crew, and everybody needs to buy in.
absolutely,
Yeah.
Whether you want to be there or not.
yeah.
And
at
we
the
all
end
have the
of-
days where
yeah.
we don't want to train.
Absolutely.
We're tired, we're cranky, we're in a bad mood for whatever reason.
You've been up, you've worked overtime,
worked
you've been up all
overtime.
night, you got a new baby, you've been up all night. I mean, we've all been there.
And you got to change your tactics too, depending on somebody's size.
Yeah,
You can do things that I can't do. I
Sure.
can do things that you two can't do because of height, and then you sheer muscle size.
I think a prime example is there is a crew where I'm at now. They have a few female firefighters, very small, petite young ladies, and their driver has taken an interest in training them. They've expressed interest that they want to be better. They've been kind of getting, through social media, they've been getting kind of blowback of, hey, as a woman, you shouldn't be here. How are you on the job and you're, this small and that small? So they sought him out to say, hey, how do I become better at this position? And we've watched some drills, and these young ladies, they can throw a 24-foot ladder by themselves. I mean, and they're probably a fourth of me. And I've seen it done. I mean, with full gear on, they've drugged the ladder off, threw it up against the building, walked it up, got the rungs up.
That's that drive that
Yeah.
everybody needs to have. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
if you're male or female,
Absolutely.
big or small.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yep.
You got to
Yeah.
have that drive to learn and do better because
Yeah.
when you come on this job, you can get through some things at a sheer strength,
Sure.
but that doesn't mean it's right or
Absolutely.
effective.
Well, and let me
And I don't care if you're male or female. If you want to learn, you're going to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and here's the bottom line with that though. It doesn't matter, like you said, big or small.
Sure.
We're not doing things by ourselves. We never should be doing anything by ourselves.
Yeah.
So you should always have someone, because this is basically, and I like to say, this is a team sport.
Sure.
So you got your team with you. Everybody's going to be strong or weak in certain areas, and that's why it's a team. You pick up
Yeah.
each other's slack.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think those young ladies, they had something to prove because right, wrong, or indifferent, those videos got out. And I'm like, I get it. You know, you have something to prove, but you're right. I mean, there's no reason that anybody should be, you know, throwing a ladder by themselves. But I think there was a point to prove that I can do this job. I deserve to be here. I'm deserving, and you know, they're working hard. You know, they're working hard, and I'm proud of them. I have to say, they proved me wrong. I didn't think that they didn't belong, but I questioned, you know, why are you here? Are you here for the name's sake, or are you here because you actually want to do this and you want to be the best at it? And they proved me wrong. So kudos to them. Hats off to them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's just
That's
stuff
all
I-
of us. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I remember being asked, "Why are you here?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Is it the name,
Oh yeah.
or do you really want to do this?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I first got down to Midtown, that was the question. Is like, you know, why are you here? Why do you want to be here? You know, do you want that name on the back of your shirt? Do you want this logo? And I'm like, that doesn't even matter. Like, and for years, I never had shirt with our company name on there. But, you know, my sole purpose for going to the Midtown area was to get better, to learn my craft so that I can eventually promote, you know. And I think that, again, if you're self-motivated, if you're self-driven, then you'll go far. But I think a lot of times people are afraid to ask the question, you know, and we've talked about that earlier off the air about, you know, being that person that, you know, what's your why? Why do you want to, you know, do what you're doing? You know, my reason was, to me, I always look at it as sometimes you got to be selfish. You know, there was blowback for me leaving where I was at. A lot of people told me I wouldn't make it down there just because of who I am. You know, I know when I went down there were not a lot of people. There were not a lot of blacks down there, and you know, I had the peanut gallery, for lack of better terminology, telling me that I wouldn't make it. I wouldn't be liked down there. You know, it's not the place for us. And I'm like, who is us? You know, I'm a firefighter. This is what I want to do. I want to be the best at what I do. And, you know, so my motivation was to better myself, but it's also to prove people wrong that, you know, it doesn't matter what you are, who you are. If you have, you know, the right motives for doing what you're doing, you'll be successful in that. And I would have never stayed down there for 10 years if I would have listened to what people thought or what they said would happen to me. So to me, that was the best move of my career, was being able to go and get better at my craft.
Yeah. Well, you know, and it seems like, I mean, we see this in just regular population culture, whatever.
Sure.
Is there seems to be a narrative, and then everybody kind of buys into that
Sure.
without actually taking the time to look at the facts.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You're the wrong color to work down
Sure.
there. Okay, well, why? You know? I mean, I go down there, I bust my ass, I work hard, everybody likes me.
Yeah.
So why was I the wrong color to work
Yeah.
here?
You
I
know
mean,
what?
have you worked down here?
Exactly. And I think fire department, fire service, in general, I mean, we're just a microcosm of what society is. I mean, you think about it, you've got, in a large size department, you've got 1,500 people. So you've got a good mixture of everyone. You're not going to always get along. We know that. We've been in on companies where, you know, it's like your family. I mean, you have those days where, man, this is my buddy, I love him. And you have days where you're like, you know what a jackwagon today. Like, I don't even want to be with you today. But, I mean, I think at the end of the day,
all the time. He's always on my nerves.
at the end of the day, though, I mean, we come together for a common goal, and that's just to serve the community. You know, we want to be better, make the city better, be proficient at what we do. So I think when you take yourself out of the equation, you look at how can I make us better, then you're headed to the right direction. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's all part of being a team.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's the we before I,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's the way that I've always looked at
Absolutely.
it.
And I think that, I mean, you know, that type of mentality takes you a long way in a department or in a situation like we're in. I mean, if you take yourself out of the equation, you start looking at the bigger picture, the us, the we, then, I mean, yeah, you're headed in the right direction. But I think a lot of times it's always about I, me. But,
Yeah.
and I think, again, that's in society too. You know, we try to be the best I can be or the best me I can be. But if you start looking at it as a whole and at the bigger picture of it, you know, how can we be better? How can we get to this point? I think you'll be better off for it. I think society will be better off for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you see with the rise of social media and things like that, that's what they're pitching. It's the I. It's
Yeah.
the I. It's the I. How can I get famous for nothing?
Yeah.
How can I make a bunch of money doing whatever
Yeah.
and not really have any real skills?
Yeah.
Or not make the world a better place?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
But we all got into this job because we want to help people.
Yeah.
You know, or it was impacted. We were impacted in a certain way.
Yeah,
Or,
absolutely.
At some point in time, said, okay, you know what? I want to give back. I want to do
Yeah.
whatever.
Absolutely. I think that's the best gift to me is just, you know, you pull up on the scene and you see somebody's demeanor or the situation change just like that because you showed up. You've helped them. You know, they've called you when they've exhausted all plausible help. I mean, we're the last line of defense. I mean, this person has called us, whether it's 2:00 in the morning and they can't breathe for 4 days. They call us because they've tried everything. So we think.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's amazing how you get there and then all of a sudden it's calm. And I think for me, that's the gratifying part is, you know what, I just made a difference. You know, yeah, am I tired? Yeah, but I made a difference. And that keeps you coming back. That keeps us coming back every third day.
Yeah. So let me.
It's not just the patient we treat; it's the family too.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
don't realize that
Yeah.
because we come in, we're calm, never run,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
and that comes every down.
most of us. some people get spun out, but so and let me ask you that.
Yeah.
So you worked in a really busy spot for a really long time.
Yeah.
And you saw some horrendous stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How do you deal with that and move on and not let it bleed over into your personal life? And
The biggest thing for me is I told myself and I told my wife when I first started that I would never bring work home. I've seen a lot, done a lot, and I don't bring it home. I talk to, and I think that, again, boils down to the relationship that you have with the people that you work with. If you can have a conversation, an open conversation about how you feel and you know, how that call made you feel, if you can express that to the guys that were there with you and you can talk through it, then I think you're better for it. I think, you know, there is a mentality that, you know, if I show my emotions about a certain call or a certain situation that we were in, then I'm weak. But I think that's kind of what has gotten us to that point of mental instability, if you will, on this job. And you see the rise in PTSD throughout fire services, period. And I think what we've done is we've internalized it too much. We hold on to it. We don't talk about it. But I think it's good, though. I mean, if you talk about it, talk about, you know, the situation that you're in and how we can be better. And you sort of remove the blame from that. You know, you start looking at certain situations, you know, that person might not have made it if you were there, you know, 30 minutes earlier. But if you can talk through those things with the people that you were there with, and if your organization has certain procedures in place where you can go and talk to people, I think that's the best thing. And I've never used those situations as far as resources that our department has, but I've always been able to have open and candid conversations about our calls, and I think that was a very fortunate thing that I was in. Is I worked well with the guys that I worked with, and we were able to have those conversations, whether it was, you know, a fatality or whatever. I mean, we were able to talk through those things. And I never brought it home, and I still to this day I won't bring it home. You know, my wife will see certain things on TV and she'll ask me about it, and I'll ask her, like, do you really want to know, or do you want me to? And she's like, well, did you get it off your chest? I'm like, I'm good. I left it at the station. I'm fine. But I would be lying if I said that there are still calls today that I ran years ago that I can still like vividly play in my mind. But it doesn't bother me to the point where I'm harping on it or I'm griping on it, but I can still replay the whole scene in my head, you know, especially those that involve little ones. Mm-hmm. Those always stick with you. But again, being able to talk that over with your crew, it helps a lot. And I think that's the biggest thing is that if you can talk it out, you will be better. I can't say you'll be fine, but you'll be better for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I mean, we have the whole procedure of the hot wash and critical incident stress debriefing and all that stuff. And we, you know, it sounds like you were on a crew where you did that informally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I think, yeah, I mean, that's so helpful.
Absolutely.
Because basically what the science shows is that if you're able to do that immediately,
yeah,
then you don't get the set in.
Yeah.
You know, because PTS, post-traumatic stress, that's a natural thing. And everybody gets it for whatever reason.
Really?
Yeah. You have any type of trauma, you've got PTS.
Wow.
Where it becomes a problem is whenever it turns into PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's gone on for that week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Wow.
And then it becomes a long-term problem.
That's
so
it.
by being able to go back to the station, have that conversation, you just moved all the way through that process in a couple hours.
Yeah, maybe that's why it's never, like I said, I still remember things, but yeah, I can remember, you know, we would get back from a call at, you know, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and we'd throw a pot of coffee on and we'd sit down and we'd just have a conversation until shift change. You look up and like, wow, okay, crew's here. And we missed out on sleep, but I feel better.
Yeah.
I feel better now.
And what you're able to do is you're able to take that memory, that event, and move it to a different section of your mind. So that way it's not, you still have the memory.
Sure.
But the emotions that are attached to that memory aren't the same.
Wow, that makes sense now.
Yeah.
I learned something today.
You guys were doing it right all along. You
Man,
didn't even know.
Yeah, we just thought we were just shooting the breeze and just kind of working through things. But that makes sense, though. It makes sense. I mean, because, I mean, you guys know, I mean, on this job, you see some everything. I mean, there's nothing on this job anymore surprised me. Even the goofiest call. I mean, you're shocked, but you're not surprised. It's like, yeah, I can see how that could happen.
I think, it's like, I just want to know how it happened.
Yeah.
You know?
What were you doing? What were you thinking?
In this day and age, you never know. They might have, hey, you want to watch it?
Yeah. Exactly. Everybody's got a camera.
Like,
hey, I want to show
why
you
don't
what
you
happened.
text that to me? That way I can show the hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
That's good, man. I never knew that. That's awesome. I appreciate that information.
Yeah. Well, you know.
That's why he married a counselor.
Boom.
Yeah.
He got all that information from her.
I did.
To make himself look smarter.
Yep.
He's like, nobody's going to call me out.
See, I
and then
told
his buddy
you,
comes
man.
over. He's like, no.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I mean, it's
Came from her.
Wise beyond your years of service. Exactly.
It's a lot of that, and you know, going through my own stuff that I went through, and then
The classes.
all the classes that I took, and then I've continued with, you know, reading books, and I can't take all the credit. My wife is like, "Here, read this," and just throwing stuff at me.
But see, that's
But-
that's the type of information that needs to be out there. I mean, you'll see, especially today, you'll see the younger guys. They'll take it more personal. So I mean, it's good to have a guy like you around. That, hey man, let me give you this. Let me show you how to maneuver through this thing. And that's, to me, that's the most important piece, because if we aren't mentally stable on this job, then we're no good. I mean, if you've lost your mental, whether you're pulling up on a house fire, a car wreck, EMS call, whatever, if you don't have your mindset right, if you don't have your game face on, you're no good. You're no
Yeah.
good to that scene. So, I mean, that's an important tool that you have in your bag that you can share with the next generation. Like, hey, I've been there. Here's how I got through it.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
Well, and that's, we're starting to see that shift
Slowly.
of other guys that have those same tools
Sure.
in their tool bag. And,
Yeah.
Again, it's a slow process
Sure.
because the culture still, we still have those guys like you were talking about. If you show emotion, you're weak and all of this and
Yeah.
all of that. Okay, all that's going to do is what it's done in the past.
Yeah.
Okay, how many marriages are you on now?
Yeah. Yeah.
How much do you drink a
Yeah.
day? How many girlfriends do you have?
Yep.
You
Yep.
go down all that whole list because
Yeah.
those are the normal behaviors of what guys are doing to deal with their stress
to
level,
suppress that
and
emotion. Yeah,
suppress that
yeah.
emotion. And we've talked about it before, but alcohol is a huge one.
That's huge.
It's
man.
like, hey, we had a rough call. Okay, we got off shift. We're going straight to the bar.
Straight, yeah.
We're gonna get,
Yeah.
just falling down drunk, and then everything's fine. Well, everything's not fine.
No, you still got to come back the next shift. Or
Yeah.
you wake up 12 hours later, you still got to deal with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, you could definitely see a shift in the industry. Yeah, you're right. There were a lot of guys that, would suppress that emotion through, alcohol or drugs and things of that nature. And I didn't, until you said that, I never put those two together. Like, that's what they're doing. They're trying to suppress it instead of actually deal with it. I'm just going to cover it up. Wow.
So, and there's a whole bunch of research and science about all of that stuff. But a lot of it, what it boils down to is a lot of people that get into these types of jobs, be it fire service, police, military, whatever.
Sure.
We all have a certain type of personality.
Mm-hmm.
We're that type A.
Type A, yeah.
I'm going to help everybody. I don't need any help. And
Yeah.
down you go.
Yep. Wow. That's huge, man. I wouldn't consider myself type A, but I could see that though. I could definitely see that. We are help everybody before we help ourselves. Yeah. Wow. I just learned something else. Dang.
Okay,
Learning every day.
then we're done for the day.
Hey, let's go have a drink now.
Are you buying?
Sure.
I'll drink his.
Yeah, you can have mine.
I did my drinker for the month. I'm good.
That's cool, man. Yeah, that's good information, man. I appreciate that. Yeah.
So, why don't we talk a little bit about your current position as a district safety officer?
Sure. When I promoted, I had no idea where I wanted to go. But as a floating captain, I got a few opportunities to drive the chief, the district DSO, and I slowly learned to love that position. And I think I fell in love with it because it was something that was different. It was unique to us. Nothing like anything I've ever done on this job. I mean, we're used to, arriving at a fire. We know exactly what we're doing. We're grabbing the hose line, flaking it out. Boom, we're going, and we got a tool in our hand. As a DSO, it's kind of totally opposite. I mean, you have your certain tasks that you're to do in the beginning, but a lot of it is, for lack of a better term, it's standing around. It's making sure that everybody is maneuvering in a safe environment. But it also allows you to see a different side of the job, the administrative side, which it's kind of a double-edged sword. You see, where people are strong and proficient, but then you get to see the admin side where people are struggling, where people are, suppressing those emotions, and you have to see the chief deal with the admin side of, getting people help, making sure that person is not only safe physically, but how's your mental? And I think that is the uniqueness of it all, is that you're like you're a glorified secretary, which I enjoy it.
Hey man, administrative assistant.
Sorry, but I it was different, and I fell in love with it. You know, I didn't think I would like it, but just to see that side of the job, you know, the more administrative side was it was eye-opening. I mean, it definitely makes you sit back and think about, you know, before you became, you know, a captain, how
much
I
trouble
guess
you were?
how jaded how jaded you were to the whole admin side. You know, I tip my hat to anybody that's in management in the fire services, because I just thought it was, hey, you just sit there, click a few buttons, and you sit back and let things happen. But no, there's a whole lot that goes into it that I think people don't know until you get into that role of either a chief or that assistant, to where you're like, wow, this is a lot tougher than I thought. And I embrace it, man. I enjoy it. I love it. I still love to come to work every third day, and I think that I would have still loved it if I was on a company with the crew, but I think this has just kind of reinvigorated me to become better at that side of it. I mean, me and my chief, we talk every day, and he gives me critiques like, hey, you know, next time, think about this, you know, when you talk to these guys, because I try to be the buffer in between him and the crew. So, you know, I'll step in to keep him from hearing certain things, and I'll be that guy to say, hey, this is probably the road to go down next time, or, you know, don't do it this way, do it this way. So you're that guide. You're kind of like a guidance counselor. I'm going to give you some advice. You can take that advice, or you can take what's behind door number one. So,
I don't recommend.
Yeah,
option number
I
two.
don't recommend going behind door number one. This is the path I would go down. But yeah, it is. It's eye opening. But I mean, I love it. And you know, when you guys promote, not if, but when you guys promote, I highly recommend, when you have the option, to stay in the buggy and take on that role of DSO. It'll be different. You'll feel like you're out of place your first go round, but eventually you'll get a rhythm and you'll understand what needs to be done, and you'll just go to it. You'll just gravitate to it. Yeah.
So I think that, and again, limited understanding of the position. I know we sat and talked
Sure.
for probably an hour and a half that night,
Yeah.
you know, about it, because I was picking your brain.
Yeah.
But like you said, you are that buffer,
Sure.
you know?
Yep.
So I think that's what's intriguing about it. You know, obviously learning a different skill set and
Yeah.
learning a different side of the
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
But also, you know, you carry a lot of responsibility in
Absolutely.
that position
Yeah.
of, you know, the chief leans on you to do certain things.
Yeah.
And then the district actually leans on you
Yeah.
to do a whole nother set of things.
Yeah, and
you
I
know?
think that's the uniqueness. You want. So the odd side of it all is, once you promote, and you'll still feel like you're one of the guys, but in essence you're not. I mean, you're a supervisor, so I mean, you're still that cool guy, but you guys know that there's certain conversations that we'll have that we won't let the captain or the chief know about.
Yeah.
So you still have to maintain that level of integrity with the crews, that, hey, you know, I've got your back. I'm here to help you, but there's still a level of trust that you've got to earn it from those guys. And I think that's the hardest part. You get a lot of guys who will promote, and now they're this big bad guy. I've got bars on my collar, and, you know, you're going to respect my authority. And it's like, let's pump the brakes on that. You know, you have to gain the trust. You know, you have trust amongst firefighters, which it should be, but then as an officer now, you have to regain that trust, because if we're honest with ourselves, we look at an officer as someone who's in charge, someone who can tell us what to do, someone who is the disciplinarian. We look at it that way, but, you know, you start looking at the structure, the officer, he's not the disciplinarian, but he can also be the guy that helps you through certain situations. So, I mean, you do have to earn that trust from your crews, from the people that work underneath you, and they have to be able to put an amount of trust in you that, you know, you're not going to go behind their back and do them wrong. You're going to help them. And I think that's the one thing that's the hardest thing to overcome, is to gain the trust of your crew. And as a safety officer, you have to gain the trust of an entire district. Even your peers, even the captains that you work around, they've got to be able to trust you that, hey, if I come to you in confidence, it may not be something that they want that chief to know. Maybe I'm coming to you for advice. Maybe I'm coming to you to see how we can handle this on this level to where the chief doesn't have to get involved. So you have to have that level of confidence and trust within amongst your peers and amongst those that are underneath you, that, hey, I'm here to help you. I got your back. And I think that's the biggest thing, is I try to make sure that, you know, my chief knows that I'm not going to come to you with the small things. If I feel like it's something that warrants your attention, hey, I'm going to give you a heads up. But if it's something that we can handle, that's not going to get anybody hurt or anything, I'm not going to bother you with that, because I know, again, from the admin side, you got a lot on your plate. So I'm going to be your buffer. I'm going to tell you, hey, this is important. I got the other stuff. You take care of that. I got this. Yeah.
So you're the ambassador.
Yeah. I am the UN ambassador for my district. Yeah. That's a good way to look at it. Yeah.
I like it.
It's conciliary.
Well,
yeah.
Great. We just went Italian all of a sudden. Well, I will say this. From the time that I've put your headset back on. From the time that I did work with you,
yes,
in that district, I was impressed.
Well, I appreciate that,
know,
man. You know,
the couple fires that we had with you, and then just the way that you handle yourself on a day-to-day basis.
Yes, I appreciate that.
So
I appreciate that, and I think that is, you know, I think, you know, we have to be self-motivated and self-driven, but we also have to look at it, regardless of what we believe, there's always eyes on you, whether it's the community, you know, the people that you work with. People are always looking. So you have to handle yourself in a professional manner. And I'll be the first to say, I mean, I'm not perfect. I'll get out there and I'll joke around with guys all the time, but there's a time and a place for everything. And I think that, you know, when you're in certain settings, you have to be able to take off, you know, the fun hat and put on your professional hat, but you have to be able to do it in a respectable manner. And, you know, and I think that's the biggest thing, is that regardless of rank, and I've always said this, I feel like I can demand respect because I'm going to give it. I'm not going to come to you in a disrespectful manner, regardless of what you've done or what the situation is. I'm going to always come to you respectful. And I think that for me, I've always said I can demand it because I'm going to give it. I'm never going to come to you disrespectful. And I think that's just a sign of professionalism, is that if you can, and my grandfather used to say that you should be able to sit with kings, but still, you know, hang out with the peasants too. And not saying that the firefighters are peasants, but you should be able to put on a hat wherever you go, and nobody knows the difference of who you are or what your position is. You should be able to fit into any room, and that's what I try to do. I can't say that I do it all the time, but I try to be able to put on many hats when needed. Yeah. Well,
I mean, you do a good job at it, but
I appreciate that.
I think with that, especially, you know, being a DSO, you have to be able to do that, because I mean, we've all seen the guys who can't.
Yeah.
You know, and they can make life a little miserable for you.
Know, and I think a lot of it too. Again, it goes back to what we talked about earlier. I think a lot of it is, you know, they weren't taught the proper way to do it. I mean, you know, if your only example is a bad example, then I can't expect you to be good, great, or the best. You know, so I think sometimes you have to go out and seek things. And I was fortunate where I came from, that there were great officers around me that gave me great nuggets of information, told me how to conduct myself. They gave me, even if it wasn't a verbal conversation, I saw the way they carried themselves.
Yeah.
You know, they could still have fun and be that joking guy, but at the same time, when it was time to go to work, they were professional. And I think that's the difference between, you know, the generations of that, you know.
I think a lot of us are able to do that.
Yeah.
It's a learned skill to be joking around or even having a disagreement at the station and straight up arguing.
Yeah.
And the bells go off and it stops.
Yeah.
And you're on the rig and do your job and
Got to.
Yeah.
you're able to communicate again without being angry.
Yeah. That's important.
Or making
Yeah.
that inappropriate joke at the wrong time.
Well, and I think, you know, yeah, because that's never happened on the way to a fire or anything.
No.
But,
You got to keep it loose.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
well, and I think, like you were talking about, you know, examples and stuff, you know, whenever it boils down to leadership.
Sure.
And we're talking about that a little bit. Whenever you have people that you're responsible for or, you know, in charge of, however you want to spin it, you want to set your people up for success.
Correct.
So by giving you that knowledge or motivating you in a certain way without maybe you even knowing about it, you know, figuring out how to motivate people to seek that knowledge and everything, you set them up for success. So later on, okay, now you can promote.
Yeah.
Or so you don't want to promote, you want to be a firefighter your whole career. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
You can lead from that position.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I don't know.
If you're one of those senior firefighters, but a firefighter their whole career,
Yeah.
sometimes those are your best leaders.
Yeah.
Because they're in the back with the other the young guys.
Yeah.
And they're teaching from back there on the way to a call on the way back where you can't usually hear the people up front because it's so loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're still getting knowledge and from somebody who's a peer.
Yeah.
Where when you start taking the driver rank or the captain rank, chief rank, you're no longer a peer.
Yeah.
And you know as well, I mean, maybe it's different for the new guys now than it was for us whenever we came on, or maybe it wasn't the same way for you guys as it was for me, but there were people that I worked with, captains, whenever I was brand new on that straight up just, I was intimidated by.
Sure.
Like they had a lot of knowledge or whatever, but I didn't feel like I could go talk to them and ask them questions because of the way they carried themselves or whatever. Maybe missed out on some great stuff. And maybe that was just my own interpretation of how, but I didn't feel comfortable.
And I know I felt exactly the way you felt, you know, especially when I got to my Midtown district. There were definitely some intimidating captains and officers in that district. I think my biggest thing was and I still am to this day, I am afraid to make a mistake. So I was a guy that asked questions, you know, and fortunately I was met with, I was afforded the opportunity to talk to those guys and to learn that perspective because I didn't want to be the one on the scene to make that mistake. I think the biggest thing, I have one story. So when I first promoted, I was floating in a district and we had a very bad wreck on the highway. And I had been on a pumper mine for just about my entire career. And I was on a truck that day. And there was a guy on the rig that everyone had less time than I did. But those guys had been on that truck for, 4 or 5 years together. And this was a bad extrication. And I remember just leaning on those guys and, hey, you know what? I'm here in a support role. I'm going to let you guys take the lead on this. I know the basics. We can get to it. But if you see something that I don't see, let me know. I'm going to lean on your expertise. But I think it was the ability to talk to those captains that I didn't want to talk to. I think that's what gave me that confidence to lean on those guys because they'd been there. They had done extrications time and time again. And again, I could have done the basic stuff, but there were some intricate things that we had to do and I knew the gist of them, but those guys were proficient. And when we got back from that call, I remember, again, we sat down at the table. It was middle of the night. We had a cup of coffee. I'm like, hey, great job. And I asked the question, why'd you do that? And now those guys are starting to verbalize. So to me, that was just as good for them as for me, because now I feel like if you can teach somebody how to do it, then that means you know exactly what you're doing. And so it was a teachable moment for myself and for them. They were able to show me, their ways or how they do it. And I was able to give them an understanding that, what, you're good at what you do. Hold on to that. Don't let somebody take that from you, because I think it kind of got chaotic. There was another company that got called in, and I could tell that their mental was gone because they felt like the chief of that scene had lost confidence. And I just kept telling them, no, you're doing it. Just keep going. I got your back. I'm going to be your support system. Tell me what you need and I'll get it for you. If you need me to do this, tell me that. And I think, again, we eventually got the person out, but I think I was there to help build them up. Again, they felt like that their chief had lost confidence. And I think, again, from the admin side, the chief was looking at, if this thing goes south, I'd rather have an extra tool and not need it than need one, not have it. So, yeah, again, from that admin side, you're looking at things from a totally different perspective. You're looking at, what could happen, what could go wrong.
Right.
And I think a lot of times we have to separate. We have to step out of that scene, step out of that situation and say, okay, it's not a lack of confidence, but you have to pre-plan. You have to plan for a just in case moment. And that's what I had to share with them, is like, it's not that he didn't trust you, but if he needed it, he'd rather have the resource there. Right. So yeah, it was definitely a teachable moment, but
that's the difference in a leader and a manager.
Yeah. And I think, and again, I think there was probably some animosity there prior to that, but like I told him, I said that just know you did a great job. You guys are great at what you do. Keep doing it. Keep getting better. And like I said, it was a teachable moment for everybody on that rig. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. I think I've been fortunate to be able to sit down and have conversations with chiefs throughout my career.
Yeah.
And, with captains, DSOs, and all that stuff, and been able to take some of that and see things from their perspective.
Absolutely.
As far as, like you said, having resources available immediately, as opposed to, okay, this went south, we need this, but we don't have it because I didn't call for it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think maybe, trying to say this without sounding like a jackass, but like at the firefighter level, job wide, guys don't think about that thing.
Sure.
And I don't know if that's just a failure on leadership or if it's a failure or
so you're still learning as a firefighter.
Yeah.
Right.
So you don't think about having those resources available or in staging.
Yeah.
Unless it's a big fire.
Right.
Because they're like, oh, that makes sense, but everything else, like, no, we can handle this.
Yeah.
In reality, things can turn south real quick.
Oh, yeah.
And you might not have experienced that yet. And then when you do experience it, you're like,
you never want to experience it again.
Yeah.
So you call in that extra company just in case.
Yeah. There were times when I was in Midtown, we pull up on a house fire and it's rocking and rolling and we go in. But there was one incident where we pulled up what seemed to be a great opportunity to go in and fight fire. My captain said, no, we're not going in. But again, I think it's on purpose that we do have our blinders on as firefighters. All we see is there's a door, I'm going in. Yeah. But I think once you get to the next level of captain, your blinders go from here to they're kind of spread out. Now you can see a bigger picture. And there were things that my captain saw that I didn't see. But I think, again, what a great leader does is you have these tabletop conversations. And so when we got back, I can't say I was pissed off, but I questioned him. I said, hey, what did you see? And I didn't come in, again, in a disrespectful manner because this guy had time on. I trusted him with my life. I asked him, I said, what did you see that I didn't see? And he went into detail. He's like, when we pulled up, I saw, smoke puffing through the bricks. It was a like a 2-story brick building. Fire was on the second floor, and we found the stairs. I'm like, perfect, we're going in. I got it. And he stopped me. I'm like, wow, what are we doing? Like, come on, man, this is easy.
Yeah.
Well, as soon as he stopped me, we start lobbing water in the window, and you hear this big old crash. Well, the back half of this building fell off. And so, like I said, in hindsight, I mean, again, as a firefighter, my blinders were here. All I could see what was in front of me. But as a captain, I think he had a broader perspective or a broader vision, and he saw what I didn't see, and he saved us, And so I think, again, great leaders have the ability to step out of their comfort zone and to make that uncomfortable decision. I mean, we know most departments or most companies in our department are aggressive. We are an aggressive department, but I think it takes a great leader to be able to step out of the norm and to make a call that's not normal. And I think that's what he did, And again, the district that I was in was very aggressive, a very proud district, but nobody questioned him because he was a seasoned vet, had been on the job for many, many years, great firefighter. So again, I think that's the difference between a good leader and a great leader. A good leader will say, you know what, if you think you can get it, go get it. But if you step back and you just give yourself a second and you look at the bigger picture, you can see things that you might have missed.
So that's the thing when you get that experience, when you go down there.
Yeah.
Even as a brand new firefighter, you got your very narrow
tunnel vision.
And each fire it gets wider and wider. And then even though you still have those blinders on, once they get this far, it doesn't. I mean, it's not a captain thing, in my opinion. It's an experience, and you start all of a sudden it's opening. Wider and wider. So even, I mean, I've seen firefighters go, "Hey, hang on."
Yep.
You see that? And everybody's like,
I did see
now.
That. Yeah.
I see it now.
Yep.
But I didn't see it at first. And it's just that's that experience.
Absolutely.
The time on the job.
Absolutely.
Doing it.
Yeah.
Doing the reps. Yeah.
So let me pose the question to you.
Sir.
That situation, same situation, brand new floating captain makes that call.
The sad reality of it is it's going to depend on the captain. It's going to depend on, and I hate to say it, but it's the truth. It's going to depend on the experience and quote unquote where that captain is coming from. Have you been in this situation before to validate your reasoning for not going in? And I think, again, as a firefighter, I mean, you definitely listen to the direct order of your captain. But I think if that's a brand new captain, a floating captain, there'll be some blowback. But yeah, I mean, we all know in our department that we all have what we would like to, what they would call street cred, and it's, is your advice credible? What have you done to make me trust in what you've said?
Yeah.
That's every department.
Is it a textbook thing that you're looking at, or do you actually see something? And I think that's kind of a downside, to what we do. It's hard to take that information from someone who hasn't, quote unquote, been anywhere. It's not right. But I mean, I think that's just the way the industry works. I don't think it's just unique to our department. I think it's, why should I trust you? Why should I believe in what you're saying?
Yeah.
In my mind, again, as a firefighter, we can get this. Okay. I don't think we can. Okay. Now the firefighters, well, why? And again, you can meet it with different methods, but as a great leader, you can validate yourself by showing respect to those people that are asking you a question. It doesn't matter if it's a firefighter, your chief, or whatever. Validate their feelings, tell them what you saw, and go from there. But I think it all depends on your delivery. I mean, if your disrespectful in the way that you approach the situation and expect to be met with the same disrespect. But I mean, if you validate them by validating their feelings and what they've seen and what they're saying, then I think you'll be fine. But yeah, it is. It's an unfortunate truth in this industry, but it is. It's about street cred. I mean, if you haven't been anywhere or done anything, it's kind of hard to take that information from someone who, in your mind, hasn't been there. Right, wrong, or indifferent. But I think I think it's an industry thing. I don't think it's just unique to us.
Yeah. So basically, what you're saying is because I told you so. Mm-hmm. It's not a.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
Yeah. No, I totally get what you're saying. I mean, as basically the leader, person in charge, whatever that you were responsible for, those 4 or 5 people, you're responsible for their life.
Absolutely.
And whenever you make a decision like that, and again, like we were talking about earlier, personality types.
Yeah.
We want to get in there. We want to get after
it.
And whenever you make a decision that's contrary to even your own feelings, you need to have some reasoning to back it up. Say, okay, here's the reason why we went exterior instead of going in. It's because I saw this.
And a captain that I had before told me that we all have that feeling. We all have that feeling that something's not right. And what he told me was usually when you feel that, go with it. If you feel like this isn't right, go with that gut feeling. And I think a lot of times we feel it, but because of the nature of our department, we go against that. And usually that's when something goes wrong, so I would definitely say, when you feel your spidey sense tingle, I think that's a good thing to go with, and again, there's no harm in you're on the scene of a rocking house fire. There's no harm in hitting it with big water and then coming back and mopping up. But again, it's going to depend on, the guy making the decision. Like, are you scared or what did you see? I saw something. I felt something.
And it's funny that you mentioned that hitting it with big water and all that stuff. Because I was, and this has been a couple of years ago, but I was working overtime with a guy who has worked down in the city. He's got a ton of respect on the job and, captain, now a chief. And we're sitting there talking about, fire stuff. And he's like, we pull up, we hit it with a dead gun. I'm like, what? You guys do that? He's like, he goes, knock it down. He goes, it helps reduce injuries. And like, he starts listing out all this stuff. And he's like, and it's more like, I was blown away because it's like, okay, well, we just grabbed the hose and we were,
And I think back in the day,
drop your tank while you're hitting that hydrant. You're using your tank to knock that down. Give you time to flake out the line, get your mask on. By the time you have your hydrant, you're done with the big water. And you can go in, and usually visibility is a little bit better too.
And I think, again, back in the day, prior to us being on the job, there was, those guys went in deep. They went deep. I think the downside to the newer generation of fire services that we have better equipment, better technology, but I think that's a double-edged sword. I think a lot of times we find ourselves getting into precarious situations because we are too deep. We do have that great bunker gear, and we do have, thermal imaging cameras that allows us to see things. But, if you can't rely on your senses, and this was told to me by an old captain of mine, if you can't rely on your senses to tell you when something is wrong, then, that's a problem. And you'll see a lot of guys that, and I've seen it, service industry wide where, guys won't wear their ear protection or their ear flaps down. And you talk to some of those older guys and they say, well, I want my ears to be able to tell me when I'm too hot. And I get it. I get it. I'm not saying that it's right. I'm not saying that it's wrong, but those guys were taught to use what they have to tell them, and I think that's the problem now is that we have better technology, better equipment. I think we rely on the equipment too much. And I think that kind of gets us into situations that could be avoidable. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, just from the sheer fact of construction techniques are different now.
Yeah.
Buildings are prone to collapse faster.
Yeah.
The materials that fill the building burn hotter now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
it's not that they burn hotter, so they hit that peak temperature faster.
Yeah.
So it seems like it's hotter.
It just gets there quicker.
Because it gets there quicker to where it used to be later in the fire. You'd already been there a while.
Yeah.
So flashovers sooner now.
So
your clock, your 15-minute clock starts from flashover. Well, did flashover start 2 minutes before my arrival? 5, 6, 10 minutes?
Yeah.
It's all stuff you got to play on.
Yeah.
Education.
Yeah, I mean, no, you're right. I just learned that in this instructor class I was just taking, man. And
wild,
you're right. It's wild, man. Like you said, everything is it burns a lot quicker than it used to. So now, you're definitely right.
Now you got to ask yourself: was this an electrical fire? Was it an accidental fire? Was it a kitchen fire with grease? Did somebody pour it? So it's incendiary.
Yeah. How long has it been burning until we got there?
Say that word again.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to say the word, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah. Incendiary.
No, you're absolutely right.
But it's all things you got to think about as whether you're the captain or you're riding out as captain.
Yeah.
Or you're the chief.
Yep.
So especially in newer houses, and now even your older houses that are getting bought that need to be rehabbed.
Yeah.
What material they put in?
Yep.
Do they keep the old material that was in there and save it, or is it all taken out and now
offer new stuff?
All new stuff, but you still have that old look.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot to think about, and like you said, you got to learn every day.
Yeah, every day, man. I do. I try to learn something every day, especially when I'm at work, something new, whether it be something on a computer or something new in our district or whatever. I try to learn that. But I think for me, the way that I learn it is if I see it, I go back and I tell somebody about it. If I can talk to my chief or talk to the guys that I'm at the station with, like, hey, did you know this? That to me is showing me, okay, you got it, you're processing it, now you're storing it back into your recess so that when you see it again, you know exactly what it is, you know how to attack it, and I think that's the best advice I give anybody, is just to learn it, and if you learned it well enough, you should be able to take that information and give it to somebody. And if you can't do that, you need to go back and learn it again.
Yep. I like it.
Yeah.
And it's not just fire stuff; it's the medical stuff.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
That changes.
Of course,
weekly.
the medic has to bring up the medical stuff.
Well, I mean, and
I'll remember that next time you need a medic.
Like,
I'm sorry, I didn't learn that.
Well, again, it goes back to the type of construction and all that. And we're not fighting fire like we used to. It's not a popular thing to say, but I think anybody that's in the industry will say we are now medical departments that are running a little bit of fire. I think that is the bulk of all of our calls industry-wide, is that we are a medical department. We still run fire, but we've almost worked ourselves out of work as far as, code enforcement. Things are better. Mm-hmm. Things still burn, but I mean, they don't burn like they used to. You think about, just since we've been on the job, think about the amount of fires we ran when we first came on to now.
Yeah.
You still hear the long tones come in, but
it's not the
food
same
on the stove or,
Yeah, they don't seem to,
They don't get big. If you get one small, most of the fires that we run now, it seems like you can get with one small right now, which is, it's still good, but think about when we first came on, there was always, 2 small, 3 small, we're fly piping, we're doing something drastic.
Yeah.
I think it's just different.
I mean, to be honest, NFPA's done a great job pushing codes and code enforcement and teaching investigators and teaching inspectors what to look for and kind of cracking down on that a little bit.
Yep.
Then you have your big events like the nightclub fire out east.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the boat fire out west.
Yeah.
And all that stuff plays into, okay, where do we mess up at?
Yep.
How do we fix this? How do we make sure it doesn't happen again? You have stricter codes. More buildings are sprinklered.
Yep.
And if you rehab it, you got to put a sprinkler in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or a standpipe for so many floors.
Which is why, he was talking about, we've had to basically diversify and start doing a lot more EMS.
Yes.
We still, it's a sad fact, but people still drive. People still crash their car.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yep.
So we do a lot of that.
Yep.
You know, and there's always medical stuff involved with that. We run a lot of, you know, ambulance stuff.
Well, even
EMS.
like car wrecks.
Yeah.
What your decision where to cut and how to cut.
Oh, yeah.
How aggressive to be.
Yeah.
Plays on what's going on inside the car with the patient.
Yeah. We didn't have electrical vehicles when we first came on the job.
I'm not even talking about electric.
Yeah.
Not even the hybrid stuff yet.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about the straight person.
Sure.
Where's their legs? Where are they trapped at? Where are they hurt at?
Yep.
Is it a neck injury and a spine injury? Is it a head injury? Do I need to go faster? Do I need to grip it and rip it?
Yeah.
Or can I take my time? It all plays into what we do.
Yep.
So having that understanding and that training leads right back into, I mean, it all plays onto itself.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What was it Dr. Carney always said? The multifactorial.
Multifactorial, yes.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I mean,
that's
medical, fire, it's
$20 word.
It's all intertwined where we need to be proficient.
Yeah.
At all of it.
Yeah.
Even if you don't like a certain aspect.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the downside to this transition in our department. Is I think we need to learn how to integrate the two disciplines, and that's the hardest part. You know, we still got the old school mentality where, you know, this is how it was when I came on, but the job has evolved. I mean, it evolves daily.
And every department that's done that has gone through the growing pains of learning how to. It's like getting a new sibling when you're a kid.
Yep.
Like, no, I'm the kid. I'm the child.
Yep.
And now you've got a little brother or sister.
Yeah.
Well,
And they get the bulk of the attention. Yeah.
Yeah. You're trying to figure out how to coexist in the same house or in the same room or something like that. It's not something you're used to.
Yeah. Well, and I think something that maybe people should step back and realize is we're master adapters. So think about it. I mean, we get called. We never know what we're going to.
Sure.
It's no different now. That hasn't changed as a part of our job description.
Yeah.
We could get called out on water in a basement, on a house fire, on a car wreck, on an EMS call that turns out to be cat in a tree.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call it, we have to be able to adapt.
Yeah.
And it seems like a lot of guys are like, well, no, this isn't how it was. Well, no, this is how it was. Yeah. Why do you want to get stuck in and pigeonholed?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think senior firefighter, when I went down in Midtown, he told me that, you know, this job is problem solving 101. You know, we think it's, we just got to put the wet stuff on the hot stuff. But yeah, I mean, you have to be able to problem solve because there's no such thing as, you know, a bread and butter fire, a cookie cutter fire. I mean, everything is different, you know, like I said, in that Midtown area, you have houses that are chopped up. That, you know, it's a 3-story house that's now a 10-bedroom apartment. So, you know, where are the stairs? They close these stairs off. So you have to be able to adapt to the situation and maneuver around it. In the same way with car wrecks, like you were saying with, you know, extrications and all those types of things. I mean, I think the best firefighters are the ones that are able to think on their feet, problem solve, and make the situation better, be able to mitigate the situation. So yeah, you're 1,000% right. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I like being 1,000% right.
Yeah.
Especially around him.
Boom.
Because he's never right.
Whoa.
Hey,
yeah.
I was right enough to come out number 13.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, he's still stuck in that theory that the whole, I came out hard, I'm going to be a good captain. No. You're going to struggle. People are going to hate you.
I think you both will make great officers. I can't wait to see it happen. And again,
that's why I'm coming to work with you.
I
one of the reasons.
You know, I tell it to anybody, and I'm sure I think they'll say the same. I try to make myself available to everybody. You know, as a safety officer, I make it a point to give my number out. You know, hey, if you got a question about whatever, call me, text me, and I get those phone. And sometimes it gets frustrating, but again, that comes in that leadership role. You make yourself accessible to build that confidence and that trust. I can trust you. I trust you to come to me with stuff that you can't handle. You know, if it's, you know, little peon stuff, and I'm like, I don't respond. But
yeah.
And I think people kind of get the point. But if it's something that you need help with, I want to be available for you. And I think that's a sign of true leadership and growth on my part. You know, I used to be that guy that it was I want to take care of me. But now I have to look at it from a position now that people are depending on me. So I want to gain that trust. I want to make sure that they can come to me with whatever. I try to validate all concerns, and even the petty ones. You know, I'll respond, but I'm like, you know, this is kind of crazy, but
where's your priorities?
Yeah, this is the way that I would do it. Yeah. Okay, I got you now. So,
well, I mean, is it? Correct me if I'm wrong, but is it fair to say that in the position that you're in now, mm-hmm. you spend a lot of your time actually helping other firefighters and captains in your district more than you interact with the public?
I would say so. Yeah. That's a fair assessment. Yeah. I try to give them more than anything a different perspective. You know, I think that's what life is all about, perspective. You know, you have your perspective and then you have the other perspective, but I try to get that person to look outside of what you see, look at it from another point of view. Especially the biggest thing is in daily staffing. You know, I think that's the biggest complaint now is that, you know, well, why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? Well, again, there's every single day, there's 1,000,001 ways you can deploy your district, and everybody's not going to be happy. But I try to give people the perspective of, you got to look at what the chief is looking at. He has to make the whole district right, not just your particular situation. So could he have done it another way? Probably. But the way he chose was more beneficial to the district as a whole, not just to you. And I think once you get that perspective, you kind of get it. But sometimes you've got to, I've invited people down, captains, to, you know, the days that I've actually been in the chief seat. I'm like, you know, you come down, you do the lineup, and then you'll see certain things just make more sense. It may not make sense to you, but if you look at it from a different perspective, take yourself out of the equation, look at the district at large, it all makes sense. It may not make sense at the time, or it may not be a favorable decision, but as a whole, this makes more sense.
Yeah. Again, from a certain point of view.
Yeah.
I went Star Wars nerd on you there. So
I got it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for coming on.
Man, this was awesome.
I really appreciate it.
I hope to get another invite.
You want to do it again?
Oh yeah, I'll do it again.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of stones that we haven't turned over.
I'm in.
So
I'm in. Yep. Just hey, call me, text me. You got my number. I'm here.
He might not text you back because it's not important enough, though. That's what he said. That's what I heard.
No. This is
those were his words. Those were his words.
It's
not important enough. I don't text back.
Something.
I'm gonna start blowing his phone up next time. He's got 5 minutes.
You get the text message like, "Wow, are we really going down that rabbit hole?"
No, not gonna respond to that one.
But again, you know, I do. I'd rather you text me than put that on the chief's table. I'm like, yeah, because then you might get.
It depends on my mood that day.
Yeah, you might get a different answer. So I'm the buffer. If it's something that warrants him, we'll go there. But I try to be the in between. So, you know, this was great. I appreciate the opportunity. Always a good time to gain knowledge and give a little bit out. So this was awesome. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming.
This was
awesome.
Dope.
So, everybody, thanks for stopping by. If you are struggling or you know somebody that's struggling, reach out. There is always help out there. So thanks, and take care of yourself.